I spoke on the 28th of February about Chris Mullin in a video entitled Journalists in Danger is Special Protection under Section 9 of PACE at Risk. I'll link to it up in the corner there and in the description, where I spoke about West Midlands Police's attempt to have a journalist hand over his material under a legal disclosure for information he might hold regarding the 1974 Birmingham pub bombings. Well, an Old Bailey judge has now ruled, and I can happily say that the judge ruled he will not have to hand over his material. 74-year-old Chris Mullins has gracefully given West Midlands Police a hefty fuck you, which under the circumstances I don't disagree with at all, especially seeing as they were looking into trying to conspire with the CPS to have him charged under the Terrorist Act in relation to his notes, or potential notes. Speaking out after the Old Bailey judgment, Mr Mullin said he is grateful for the decision, saying journalists' right to protect sources is fundamental to a free press in a democracy. In his book Error of Judgment and a series of documentaries, Mr Mullin, former MP and minister, helped through his work to expose one of what's classed as the worst miscarriages of justice, leading to the release of the Birmingham Six after their convictions were quashed in 1991. So the witch hunt seems more like it was being used to teach Chris Mullins a lesson for showing the police up, rather than because of genuine belief he held information that could be used by them. I mean, they were looking for information to be used, but no doubt against Mr Mullins himself. Commenting on the ruling, Julie Hambleton, who leads the Justice for the 21 campaign group and whose older sister Maxine was killed in the bombings, said we had no expectations. To be perfectly honest, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't give it any thought. West Midlands Police used the Terrorism Act to bring the production order application against Mr Mullin. Handing down his ruling on Tuesday morning, the Recorder of London, Judge Mark Lucraft, said, I decline to grant the production order sought. He said there were three issues in the court that the court had to determine. The first was whether Mr Mullin had the material in his possession, and if so, what such material does he have? The judge wrote, on this issue, I find that Chris Mullin does have material in his possession, custody or power that comes within the wording of the production order as refined in the course of the hearing. The second issue was whether there are reasonable grounds for believing that the material is likely to be of substantial value, whether by itself or together with other material to a terrorist investigation. The judge wrote, on this issue I find that the condition is made out. That's 2 out of 3. He said the third issue was whether there are reasonable grounds for believing that it is in the public interest that the material should be produced or that access to it should be given, having regard to the benefit likely to accrue to a terrorist investigation if it is obtained, and to the circumstances under which Chris Mullin had the material in his possession, custody or power. The judge continued, in effect, is there a clear and compelling case that there is an overriding public interest that might displace Chris Mullin's strong Article 10 right to protect his confidential journalistic source, along with the court considering its discretion? On this issue, I do not find an overriding public interest to displace the journalistic source protection right. I decline to grant the production order sought. Speaking after the ruling was handed down, Mr Mullin said, I am grateful to the judge for his decision. The right of a journalist to protect his or her sources is fundamental to a free press in a democracy. My actions in this case were overwhelmingly in the public interest. Tell that to the Met who nicked my journalist equipment without a court order and who have still got it. He said they led to the release of 6 innocent men after 17 years in prison, the winding up of the notorious West Midlands Serious Crime Squad, and the quashing of a further 30 or so wrongful convictions. This case also resulted in the setting up a Royal Commission, which, among other reforms, led to the setting up of the Criminal Cases Review Commission and the quashing of another 500 or more wrongful convictions. My investigation is also the main reason why the identity of 3 of the 4 bombers is known. Mr Mullin's solicitor said the judgment was a landmark for freedom of expression. Louis Charalambus, somebody from Simon's Muirhead Burton said this is a landmark freedom of expression decision which properly recognises the public interest in Chris Mullin's journalism, which led to the release of the Birmingham Six. If a confidential source cannot rely on a journalist's promise of lifelong protection, then these investigations will never see the light of day. Now, it's also important to ask the question as to why the police didn't bring this action against Mr. Mullins at the time his book was published and instead waited until now. Julie Hambleton, who leads the Justice for the 21 campaign group, said a cynical view might be it was an attempt by West Midlands police to deflect from their own failings over many, many years. Assistant Chief Constable Matt Ward of West Midlands Police said this was a complex issue, balancing the need to pursue all significant lines of inquiry related to the 1974 Birmingham pub bombings against the rights of journalists to keep the sources of their information confidential, which is of course why you threatened him, no doubt, with terrorism offences. Yeah, I can certainly see you taking the balance into account of journalistic rights. He added, the court has given its independent judgment, which we will now consider fully. Consider? What is there to consider? You've been told by a judge. Now do as you're told and stop trying to circumvent the law. I mean, the police just cannot help themselves, can they? Even a lawful defeat, and they want to consider it rather than simply accepting it. Well done, Chris Mullins. Big thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police, and of course other officials.